It's time for the Black Panther to return to Wakanda. Welcome to the Complete Story series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites somewhere in the country of Wakanda. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Now, T'Challa was a king who was cast out from his country, but after his sister, who stood in his place when missing, he has returned. One day on the mound at the vibranium mines, T'Challa wanted to praise the heart of his great country, the miners who mine the vibranium. They are what helped make Wakanda what it is today. But as he stands over the crowd, hoping to convince them to go back to work, he sees something in their eyes: hatred. As the hate spreads, the guards begin to attack the workers, and a riot begins to break out. However, the hate did not rise on its own. Something or someone influenced it. While running through the crowds, T'Challa finds the scent of the deceiver, and soon the scent goes stale, and then the hate begins to fade. Over in the Golden City, Wakanda's capital, Ayo stands before the Queen Mother on behalf of her prisoner Aneka, a captain in the Dora Malaysia, asking to spare her life. Aneka had found corruption in one of the chieftains and she struck him down, and now she stands trial for the murder on her people. The Queen Mother waits in silence and then tells her, no, they will not cast their standard in place of another. She will take no joy in doing her duty, but she will do so even if others falter. Soon T'Challa returns to the capital city and goes to see his mother, the Queen Mother, and she asks him what happened, and he tells her he tried to appeal to the people to return back to work, but they did not hear him. Instead, they were listening to someone else. Upon finding her, though, he will kill her. The Queen Mother tells him that in these times he will do what he must, but know that he is not a soldier but a king, and it is not enough to be the sword, but he must be the intelligence behind it. Meanwhile, though, the woman T'Challa was chasing says that she saw the agony within the people, but she also saw something else: rage. A man asks if she encouraged the rage, but she tells him no, she gave them a gift. She has come to Wakanda not as an exhorter, but as a liberator. The people have learned that there are greater agonies than the wrath of the kings. The people don't hate their king, they are ashamed of him. The man Titu walks Zenzi out into a crowd of people, telling her, out of the rage shall come another Wakanda, with a better and brighter world. Later that night in the prison cells, Aneka waits in her cell, but soon hears a loud boom outside, and when she looks, she sees fire rain pouring from the skies. Moments later, the wall to the cell is blasted open, and Ayo stands there wearing a suit similar to T'Challa's. But before they leave, Ayo tells her that she must not do this. Don't throw it all away for her. Ayo flies out and begins to knock out the guards and takes Aneka, and the two of them fly off. Once they've escaped, Aneka sits with Ayo while she recovers her strength, and Ayo mentions that she knows that they're going to kill them both now, right? Aneka knew that part of her was dead the moment that they condemned her beloved. But now, Wakanda is falling, and their king cannot even save them. So she took both prototype suits, and it is time for them to act as dead women should. The following day, T'Challa sits with his advisors discussing the woman who caused the riot. This woman, Zenzi, was a prisoner who was killing Wakandans, but during her execution, she turned to one of the guards and influenced his mind to attack the Killmonger. T'Challa tells everyone that he has tracked this woman to the frontier at the edges of the Wakandan border, and he will go after her alone. He has seen what she can do firsthand, and he is prepared, and the soldiers, however, are not. The blood of his people are on his hands, and no psychic trick will save her. Over in the bandit compound in northern Wakanda, some of the guards decided that it was time for them to have a little fun with the prisoners. But as the guard grabs the girl, she screams out to save her. The guard tells her not to worry. He will save her. And then he hears a voice asking how they could save the girl when they cannot save themselves. Aneka breaks down the cell and starts taking out the guards until only one stands. The guard points his gun at her, asking if she yields, and then the man is thrown out of a tree supporting the jail. Shortly afterwards, the women and child praise Aneka and Ayo for saving them, and as Ayo looks at one of the younger girls, she tells her that she deserves so much more. She deserved a Wakanda that cherished her. Aneka then continues, but this is the Wakanda that they have. As long as the Midnight Angels breathe, they shall make them pay. Over in the border region, T'Challa infiltrates the facility where Zenzi is staying and slowly begins taking out its guards. Once he's finished, T'Challa enters the facility and finds Zenzi praying. He tells her to not try and get into his head, and she tells him why trifle with his head when she can devour his heart. T'Challa's visions begin to change, and he begins to see the image of his sister, Shuri. His sister begins to ask him, how could he do it? How could he have left her to die? And Shuri begins kicking him, stating, you are no king. You are a fool. T'Challa knows that this isn't real, but this is what he believes. And soon he watches as his people begin to fade, and then he's left alone. When it all fades, he wakes up seeing the guards beating him. He fights back and knocking them out, and he tells the people that these men are responsible for the crimes against their country. They will be brought to justice, and your king will provide it for you. The children gather around one of the women, and she tells T'Challa that these men, they were providing for them, unlike you, king. Upon returning to the capital, T'Challa tells his mother that he underestimated the nature of the threat. He knows a king shouldn't confess such things, but he was being blinded by his past, and with it, all of his defeats. What's more, he keeps seeing his ancestors and he keeps seeing his sister. The Queen Mother says that Shuri acted as a queen should, giving herself for the nation, and he acted as a king should, giving himself for the world. She watched as his father and uncle struggled under the same weight as him, but he is stronger than the kings who came before him. And now, he needs to prepare. He needs to forget what he sees. He needs to stalk the soul. Down in the southwest of Wakanda, by the borderlands, T2 and Zenzi walk through the woods, and Zenzi watches a leaf fall and states, he's here. From the woods, T'Challa jumps in telling the betrayers to fall, and then he begins kicking and throwing the guards protecting T2 and Zenzi. After being blasted away, T'Challa slowly begins to lose the battle as the guards surround him. Zenzi walks over to him and places her hand on him, but before she can use her magic, T'Challa blasts her away into a tree, knocking her out. He then calls out his war dogs, and soon the trees become filled with his personal guards. While the war dogs handle the guards, T2 begins to pour a liquid on himself, and he begins to wipe it away, creating an image of a skull on his face. Vines start to creep out of the trees, and they grab a hold of the war dogs and then T'Challa. And T2 tells him, "You dare accuse me of treachery? You, who have plotted with those who have drowned your own people. You, who fled Wakanda while it burned. You, who left your queen and your own sister to die alone." T2 then picks up Zenzi and says, "Know that a day is coming when Wakanda will be ruled by Wakandans. The era of kings shall end." Once he returns to the capital, T'Challa sits again with his advisors to figure out who that shaman is. One tells him the only thing that they know is that the man's name is T2 and that he was once a pupil of Akima Shula. And the Queen Mother says, "Changamir." Achille of the War Dogs asks who is that, and the advisor says that he was a philosopher at the Shul. But before that, he was a tutor for King T'Chaka's royal court until the king exiled him for extortion against the monarchy. T'Challa asks if he has anything connecting the two men, and then he shows him a photo of the two of them talking. T'Challa says that that's not enough for a connection, but what he needs right now is for them to find any connections. For the good of the country, they must do this. The War Dogs tell them that on their word they will. But other than that, there is some bad news. For weeks they've been hearing disturbing rumors from the north. They lacked confirmation until last night when an operative sent them footage. Aneka and Ao, the ones who stole the prototype suits, have been marauding throughout the country, and as of now, they've taken over one of the regional areas. Several of the tribes have sided with them and started to assemble communes, calling for elections and writing and enforcing laws. They are having a revolution down there. Elsewhere, with Aneka and Ao, T2 comes to them stating that he wanted a new country that respected everyone equally, and he believes he may have just found it. He comes to offer his admiration for toppling the Jabari tyrant, but what's more, he has come to offer his arms. There is a war coming. Ao says that they are, as he says, a new country, a new nation, but prudence is required. They know who he is and of his battles with the king, and they think that he may prove to be a true friend to their cause. But right now, all they share are kind words and a common enemy that is not yet enough to combine their forces. Back in the capital, T'Challa and the Queen Mother talk as they followed up with the lead on Changamir. She tells him that he is not a revolutionary, he renounced violence, so the problem is not with an old philosopher, nor is his problem the renegade Dora Milaje. The real problem is the people. They have no faith in their country or their king. One thing that T'Challa's father, understood, and Changamir doesn't, is that the first rule of any government is to safeguard the people. T'Challa says that they have failed their people with Doom, Namor, the Black Order, and even threats unknown to them. And the Queen Mother says that there is more. What Changamir understood that his father didn't was that protection wasn't enough. Force wasn't enough. What T'Challa needs to do is give the people something that hasn't been given to them before: inspiration. While T'Challa goes to meet with his people elsewhere, T2 and Zeka Stan discuss how T2 is in need of a major upgrade. Stan knows that T2 is ready for revolution, but is he ready for the future? Because he can tell him what's coming. Panic in the streets, fire in the skies, casualties, and agony. During his meeting, T'Challa sees an explosion in the distance in the middle of a crowd, and then more coming his way. The War Dogs watch over, but the damage has been done, and T'Challa picks up his mother. Later in the office, the advisors tell T'Challa that because of the shielding from his suit, the Queen Mother will live. But T'Challa stands there telling them that there will be no mercy. This is a war, and war is their nation's trade. It has been for generations. They are Wakanda, and they will not be terrorized. They are the terror itself. And that is the conclusion to the first story arc for the new Black Panther storyline, which is crazy political. It's interesting to see where this is going to go, and if you want to follow this yourself, then go ahead and pick up the all-new, all-different Black Panther storyline at issue 5. We'll get to it eventually, but hey, you gotta catch up on this yourself. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian and Instagram at Comicstorian, and I'll see you next time right here.